Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Gordon Choi. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Family of 3 infected with Omicron subvariant triggers fears of a silent transmission chain in Kowloon City district. 3 Chinese astronauts arrive in Tiangong space station after 7-hour journey aboard Shenzhou 14. And new history findings lead to fresh calls to preserve a unique tenement block in Tsim Sha Tsui. Hong Kong has seen another 515 COVID cases, the highest daily uptick in more than a month. Health authorities are also warning of a possible transmission chain in the community after a family of 3 living in Ho Man Tin is believed to have contracted the contagious Omicron subvariant BA.2.12.1. Isaac Lee reports.
There are now fears of a silent transmission chain in Kowloon City district. The Centre for Health Protection issued the warning after a 38-year-old woman living in Kwun Tak Court in Ho Man Tin was found to carry the BA.2.12.1 variant. 2 of her family members are believed to be infected with the same contagious strain. While the woman did not come into contact with BA.2.12.1 patients at a particular location, authorities said a number of them lived in the same district, so it is possible a transmission chain is now in the community. One more student from the Holy Trinity College in Shek Kip Mei has been infected, taking the cluster to 9 students and 1 teacher. She had met 2 schoolmates who were earlier diagnosed with COVID. Over in Central, another 45 people had contracted the virus after visiting 4 bars, including 27 from Shuffle and 13 from LINQ. The good news was that most of these patients only had mild symptoms.
For the Central and the Iron variants, the whole genome sequencing has come back, and this BA.2.2 is associated with the local circulating strain, so we have not observed any serious illness. This is also similar for the 2 recent club outbreak in the Link and Shuffle, although we have not had the genetic sequencing coming back yet.
Trung said 1/5 of the cases reported on the RAT platform over the past week have since been nullified after undergoing a PCR test. She admitted that the daily caseload has been on the rise in the past few days, but the hospitalization rate remains low. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
Customers of the city's 2 largest banks were locked out of their accounts for around 3 hours today. HSBC and its affiliate Hang Seng Bank reported technical issues with their e-banking services from around 11 a.m. ATMs across the city were also suspended. It is believed that a botched system maintenance had led to the interruption. Services have since gradually resumed after 1 p.m. A Green group is urging the government to speed up legislation for a plastic bottle recycling deposit after hundreds of millions end up in landfills each year. To make the scheme more effective, it is suggesting that the deposit be set at $1, 10 times the amount proposed by authorities. Isaac Lee reports.
Summer is here, and the variety of bottled drinks on offer at convenience stores is tempting as ever. While it takes only a minute or 2 to grab a bottle, it takes hundreds of years for the plastic containers to decompose. It is estimated that 1 billion such containers end up in the city's bins each year. On World Environment Day, concerned group The Green Earth urged the government to speed up the introduction of a producer responsibility scheme, which has been mulled for years. Under the proposal, consumers may be asked to pay a deposit for each plastic bottled drink purchased. The deposit will be refunded once the bottles are taken for recycling. A pilot scheme is already underway, offering 10 cents for each bottle inserted into a reverse vending machine. But the group felt that the rebate was not appealing enough for the less environmentally conscious.
The deposit amount shall not be too low. The Green Earth disagree with the 10 cents proposal by the government because we want to see everybody in the society to work on that. Therefore, we have been preaching for $1 per bottle. A higher value or higher return value for the bottle, it helps to boost the recycling rate, which is in Hong Kong, 2020 a single-digit percentage.
Apart from cutting waste from source, the group also noted a growing amount of plastic bottles washed ashore beaches. Of more than 40,000 bottles picked up last year, nearly half were affixed with mainland products labels, suggesting they had drifted into Hong Kong's waters from the north. The Green Earth urged authorities to jointly tackle the problem with their mainland counterparts and formulate waste reduction targets. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
The first batch of artifacts from the Palace Museum in Beijing have gradually arrived in Hong Kong, where it will be put on display at a brand new venue in West Kowloon. The wooden crates shipped from the Forbidden City were carefully opened. Curators and conservators from Beijing and Hong Kong then inspected the relics before installing them for exhibition. One of the national treasures is a low-temperature painted vase from the Qing dynasty. The Hong Kong Palace Museum is set to open next month, showcasing over 900 works on a rotational basis. Some can only be displayed for a few months due to limits on light exposure and humidity. Elements could speed up their decay. China's Shenzhou 14 spacecraft, with 3 astronauts on board, has successfully docked with the Tiangong space station this evening after a 7-hour journey from Earth. The trio will have a raft of duties to complete during their 6-month mission. Chloe Feng reports.
Roughly 7 hours after takeoff, the Shenzhou 14 spacecraft slowly approached the docking point before successfully joining with the Tiangong space station.
对上了。
The intricate procedure was completed 400 kilometers above Earth. For the coming 6 months, the Tianhe core module is where the 3 astronauts call home. Their commander Chen Dong was on the Shenzhou 11 mission 6 years ago. Liu Yang, who became the first Chinese woman in space aboard the Shenzhou 9 in 2012. And Air Force pilot Cai Shuzhe, who is on his maiden space voyage. They will put together the final pieces of the space station, docking 2 additional lab modules, Wentian and Mengtian, set to be launched in July and October. The modules will equip the crew with the facilities needed to research space science, medicine, and materials. The trio will be joined by 3 more astronauts selected for the Shenzhou 15 later this year, marking the first time the station will have 6 people on board. The Shenzhou 14 crew will then return to Earth in December.
3、2、1，点火！起飞！起飞！起临，摇动时14分摇动秒，自动。
At 10:44 this morning, the Shenzhou 14 blasted off from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center on the edge of the Gobi Desert in northern China. It separated from the Long March 2F rocket and entered the predetermined orbit about 10 minutes later.
我宣布。
China has been aggressively expanding its space program over the past 3 decades. The Tiangong space station, when completed this year, will be about a quarter the size of its rival, the International Space Station. The achievement will also herald an era of permanent Chinese habitation in space, capable of accommodating as many as 25 lab cabinets for experiments. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Turning overseas, at least 34 people were killed and hundreds more injured in an explosion in southeastern Bangladesh. It took firefighters hours to contain the blaze at a storage depot in the port city of Chittagong. The sheer force of the blast saw debris landing hundreds of meters away from the site. At least 5 firefighters were killed, while a number of journalists were also missing. It is believed that chemicals were stored in some of the containers. Authorities have ordered a probe into the accident. In the French Open, top seed Iga Swiatek has been crowned women's champion after a straight sets victory over American teenager Coco Gauff. The world number one is now unbeaten for the past 35 matches. Raymond Yang reports.
4 years after turning professional at age 14, Coco Gauff has finally reached the biggest stage in tennis. The American was playing her first Grand Slam final, facing world number one Iga Swiatek, who came into the contest with a 34-match winning streak. The Pole was firmly in control from the start, her footwork impeccable and shots lethal. After conceding the opening set 6-1, Gauff started the second set with a break before going up 2 games to love. But Swiatek unleashed her shot-making skills, featuring both speed and precision. There was barely a chink on her armor, as she was equally adept at using her backhand. Gauff's title dream came to an end with an unforced error on match point, bowing out in just 1 hour and 8 minutes.
First of all, I wanted to congratulate you because you're doing an amazing job. I can see that every month, you're progressing all the time, basically. And when I was your age, I had my first year on tour and I had no idea what I'm doing. So you will find it and you will be there. I'm pretty sure of that. I wanted to, at the end, say something to Ukraine to stay strong because the war is still there. And since my first speech in Doha, basically, I was hoping that when I'm going to do the next one, the situation is going to get better, but I'm still going to, have hopes and try to support. So thank you, guys, and see you next year.
Great job. Swiatek is now a multiple winner at Roland Garros, winning her second trophy in Paris in 3 years. Raymond Yang, HKIBC.
While the war in Ukraine continues, many in the country will have their minds occupied elsewhere later tonight. They face Wales in the World Cup qualifying finale, with the winner receiving a ticket to Qatar this November.
It's a massive game. I think there's no hiding it. We haven't qualified for World Cup ever in a proper way. We've only ever played in one World Cup, so this is a stepping stone that all of us want to take to play on the biggest level. And yeah, everybody in the whole world feels for Ukraine, but for this game, it's a game of football. It's a competition. It's sport. It unites everybody. We understand what it would do for Ukraine, but we want to get to the World Cup.
In response, Ukraine defender Alexander Karavayev agreed that everything should be decided on the pitch. He said the team is motivated and will show to the world what it is capable of. Finally tonight, a group of architects and historians are calling on authorities to consider preserving a pre-war tenement block in Tsim Sha Tsui. They believe the building had been occupied by the Japanese army during its occupation of Hong Kong, which makes it historically significant for preservation. Macy Mott reports.
While this 4-story tenement block at the junction of Nathan Road and Austin Road is eye-catching, experts now say there is more to its unique design than meets the eye. The Art Deco structure was built between 1932 and 1937, just one of 28 pre-war Western-style residential blocks to still exist in Hong Kong. It has since been converted for commercial purposes, housing a toy store and other shops. While given Grade 3 historic building status 4 years ago, the block is now at risk of demolition. As such, a group of architects and historians now want the building be upgraded to Grade 1. They said a study has suggested that the ground floor of the building was occupied by Japanese soldiers, while its previous landlord had gathered intelligence for the British Army during the Second World War. But former Antiquities Advisory Board Chairman Andrew Lam cautioned that even Grade 1 status is not enough to prevent a structure from demolition.
Grade 1 or Grade 2 or Grade 3 are just administrative gradings. There is no kind of provisions for legal protection to prevent the building from being demolished. So unless, a strong enough case for it to be turned into a declined monument, but, it is challenging.
The buildings department said it has approved a demolition request in March last year, but no application has since been filed for the works to begin. The Antiquities and Monuments Office said a review on the assessment will be conducted if new information has emerged. The office confirmed it had been in discussions with the building's owner on a preservation plan. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Onto the weather now. Cloudy with showers tomorrow, with the rain becoming frequent later. Temperatures will range between 27 and 31 degrees. Expect heavy rain and thunderstorms in the following days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Sunday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Gordon Choi. Thanks for watching. Good night.